This is a film about maths. It's not the story of a bunch of dead white men and their contributions towards maths. And it's not going to tell you that you use maths every day when calculating your shopping. There's no maths in this film. It's really about our attitudes towards maths. You may not have done very well at maths in school, but if you thought that was just down to your natural ability, you might want to keep watching. Across the course of this film, we'll be finding out what makes girls so bad at maths, what makes Asian kids so good at maths, and what your classroom has in common with the torture facility.
But first, in a documentary shot for the BBC, we see what educational psychologist Dylan Williams does with one of teaching's most tried and tested ideas.
Dylan is one of the most respected education advisors in the country. He has pioneered research on how to improve teaching and boost student engagement. Dylan notices something he sees time and time again.
Okay, guys, hands up then.
Shh, hands up.
Some kids can't wait to take part,
Can I please have two people right there?
while others just switch off and opt out.
The programme shows how Hartswood School in Hertfordshire applies some of Dylan's experimental techniques to the children's lessons.
Dylan thinks that hands up is one of the most damaging things that happens in a classroom. He believes only a quarter of students consistently put their hand up.
Cool. See a few more hands, guys. I've got the same hands every single time. Emily.
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 Fed thousands.
Yeah, fed the 5,000.
The children who are answering everything you ask them are actually getting smarter. Their IQs actually go up. And there are other children in the same classroom who are foregoing that opportunity to get smarter. So if you're allowing children to volunteer to participate or not, quite simply, you are making the achievement gap bigger. First change I want to encourage you to make in your classrooms is that when you ask a question, students do not raise their hands and you choose who to answer. It's very hard to do it at random unless you have some kind of randomization device. The way to choose students' names at random is to write their names on lollipop sticks, put them in a pot, and when you've asked a question, just pull out a student's name at random.
Dylan's suggestion prevents both teachers and children from deciding ahead of time how much they know, which means they all have to pay attention and they all get equal attention.
The theory is that the sticks should engage everyone, even those who dislike maths like Katie and Jessie, as well as brighter kids like Harvey.
Katie refused to come to the board today when her name was picked because I think she's a very shy student.
Maths is one of the most challenging subjects to teach. Comprehensives usually tackle this by dividing the class into two ability sets.
But hang on, why should maths be any harder to teach than other subjects? How is it different from something like history?
Not only is history already a big story, full of characters and pictures and themes, but your knowledge of World War II does not depend greatly on your knowledge of the Athenian democracy. And for that reason, it's not a kind of compound subject. Whereas with maths, one lesson builds on another lesson, builds on another lesson, builds on another lesson, until you have a structure in place. You cannot learn the more advanced stuff without having a fundamental understanding of its basic concepts. This is what probably leads a lot of children to feel like they've been left behind, that they have no hope to get better.
The difficulty of all of this is that most teachers teach these lessons and they think the students are understanding it, and therefore they don't want to know that it didn't work. It's almost like ostrich-like behavior. And what many of these techniques reveal is that despite your brilliant lesson, the kids didn't get it. And I think every teacher should want to know about that.
I'm not reading.
I'm not so sure whether I like it or not. I feel, if anything, it's actually hampering things instead of making things go smoother.
You have a student who knows the answer, wants to participate, but their name is never called out. They get frustrated, they get annoyed.
When you know the answer, you can't say it. It gets passed on to someone else, and sometimes it's frustrating when you know it, but other people don't.
The other thing to say, of course, is that these kids are frustrated because they're used to having their own way. They're used to monopolising the conversation.
And the sticks bother the less confident children because now they have to pay attention.
For some people, it would be sort of like a laid-back sort of feel in some lessons, but now you've got to know the answer all the time, as Catherine said, because there's a chance that you'd get picked.
Right.
And even the brighter pupils are being challenged.
Yeah, I think it is most.
For straight A students like Emily, there's learning of a different kind.
I don't know.
Chloe and Emily are only used to putting their hand up when they know the answer.
Okay.
Now they're starting to find out what it's like to be picked when they don't.
People are a lot smarter than I used to think because they've had their chance to share now, and I think if the sticks do like go or if they stay, I'll definitely like give other people a go as well.
Just as the classroom adjusts to this new way of working, it becomes obvious that some of the children are more bothered than others.
Dylan hears that someone's sticks have gone missing from the teacher's pots.
Really? Which pot? My pot?
I'm very shocked if they did take the sticks out. At the same time, very intrigued. I'd like to know why they felt that they had to take their name out.
So whose name is missing?
Shall we have a look?
Kieran. There we go. No, there he is. Oh, really? That's very interesting. Emily is gone. I'm very surprised because she used to put her hand up. She used to want to answer questions. Very odd.
It's different for the other students because they don't normally be so keen or normally put their hand up to answer. So I guess they feel alright to just be like, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But to me, it does. If I don't know the answer, it's quite embarrassing because I've kind of got this, reputation that I'm smart and I know the answers, but sometimes I don't.
Once the school became used to the change, however, the effects on confidence were clear.
And I know you don't find maths easy, but your teacher has said that you are one of the most improved students this year. How does that feel? Does that feel...
Makes me feel well proud of myself.
Good. Yeah. And is this something you think you're going to be able to carry on, this increased attention?
Yeah, because like before, I didn't really know that I could get better maths, but now that she said I'm one of the most improved, I know that I can do it then.
And the effect on the children's education was even more than Dylan had hoped for.
According to the teachers' assessments, the class learned twice as much in the summer term as they would have expected.
Hello, 8HJ.
In a much shorter classroom demonstration, let's see what happens when a psychological effect employed at Guantanamo Bay shows up in the classroom.
I'm going to have you do an activity. This is an on-your-own activity, and this is not to tax you. These are easy things. This is just to kind of get you feeling what we're going to go over. So everybody, if you would, take out a short piece of paper. I'm going to pass out these papers, and just keep them face down. And if you would, no one write on these, write on your own papers. Everybody have one? If you would, just do them one at a time, and I will tell you when to do them. Everybody turn it over. Just do your own work. And this isn't meant to be hard. These are anagrams. Just do the first one only. Go ahead and solve it. An anagram is rearrange the letters to form a word. Just one. Just rearrange those letters to form a word. When you're done, I need to see your hand raised. Okay, keep going. We'll wait. Keep your hands up, please. Just do number one. Don't go on. Don't go on. This isn't meant to be difficult. Okay, put your hands down. Let's just go to number two. Don't even worry about number one. Go to number two. Solve that one. Again, when you're done, I want to see your hands up. Everybody's hands down. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do number three. For number three, rearrange the letters, and as soon as you do, go ahead and put your hand up. Here's what you need to know. You were both given two different lists. This side of the room was given these three words. And left side of the room, here you go. They were given bat. What would the word be? The second one, they were given lemon. Brian, the word? Melon. They were easy. The trick here was both of you were given the third word, which was the same. The third word was cinerama, which was American. Your first two words on this side of my classroom were not solvable. They were impossible tasks. I'm sorry. I know, but here's what we did this for. I was able to induce something called learned helplessness in the left side of the room very easily within about 5 minutes. I want you to think about what happened to you, this left side of the room, when you saw the right side of the room raising their hands because they already had the task done. What happened to you during that time? Jory?
I felt stupid.
You felt stupid? Okay.
I felt rushed.
Felt rushed? What happened by the time you got to the third word? Because I'm here to tell you, this side of the room is not significantly more intelligent than this side of the room. That was a random assignment. So what happened to show the differences?
My confidence was shot.
What you experienced was a term called learned helplessness. How many have heard of the term before? Let me see your hands. Learned helplessness is often used in the academic literature to mean what? Jory?
Basically, they fail once or can't do something one time, and then they apply that to everything in the future, so all the future applications become skewed by that.
Now you may well ask what this has to do with Guantanamo Bay. Well, in efforts to pressure some detainees into giving up whatever intelligence they might have, 2 retired academics were eventually found who would agree for hundreds of dollars every day to use their backgrounds to employ powerful psychological techniques.
You lie. But their strategy here, Mitchell and Jesselyn, was, hey, let's do learned helplessness. This is something that Dr. Marty Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania studied early in his life, and he's why he's one of the most celebrated psychologists in the country. And they went and talked to him about it. And Seligman didn't know that they were going to use this on actual people. He had done the study on dogs, that if you keep shocking them over and over again, they become helpless, and they don't even respond to the shock anymore. So these geniuses thought, hey, we'll try it on human beings.
Jess and Mitchell had had no experience in interrogation, and it turned out that the learned helplessness techniques they'd used had now made it impossible to further pressure any suspects. Just like the dogs that had stopped moving to avoid the electric shock, the detainees stopped trying to give up information to avoid being punished. The same principle, learned helplessness, is at work when people of any age decide that no matter what happens, they're going to fail. To make the teaching connection really clear, let's look at an actual experiment. Psychologists gave instructions to high school students on how to solve a particularly difficult maths problem. But to half the students, they showed a clear, well-designed video presentation, and to the other half, a deliberately confusing version. As you'd expect, the groups performed very differently when faced with these problems. But, importantly, the poorly instructed students lacked confidence in the task even after being shown the nice, clear presentation and after being told explicitly that their low scores were because they had watched a deliberately confusing video. Even after 3 weeks, the confused students were less likely to sign up for other maths classes, and the psychologists realized they were potentially derailing the careers of these poor students. The only way they could undo the effects of their bad teaching was to painstakingly tell the students about the belief perseverance effect, describe how it might be affecting them, and explain the experiment to them, along with the findings, until finally they realized what had happened to them. Coming up, we find the definitive answers to why girls are so bad at maths and why East Asians are so good. I'll give you a clue, the answers are completely different.